This video might change how you see the wolf among us forever. We're diving into a theory that's never been fully explored, one that ties Auntie Greenleaf to the game's jaw-dropping final twist. From hidden hints to long-forgotten clues, we'll uncover the truth about her suspicious role and what it could mean for the story. Auntie Greenleaf is a black market criminal who supplies Fabletown's poorest and its most dangerous residents with glamours, magical tubes capable of altering a Fable's appearance. When the first murder in decades shakes Fabletown, it's revealed that Auntie Greenleaf's glamours were used by Ichabod to make working girls resemble Snow White. That's the extent of what most know about her, a simple supplier of magic, operating without oversight or restraint. The idea that Greenleaf was forced into this line of work is completely false. She refused an official position with the Fabletown government, declined to live on the 13th floor with the other witches producing regulated glamours, and her emotional plea about having no other choice is a lie. In fact, she's even hinted to have eventually accepted that job by the end of the game. Greenleaf isn't just a struggling resident. She's in this business by choice, likely because it's profitable, likely because it grants her the freedom to sell to anyone she wants, as proven by her dealings with both Ichabod Crane and the Crooked Man. The latter relies on her to sell cheaper illicit glamours, strengthening not only the community's dependence on him, but his control over it. It's easy to overlook this detail, since most of the struggling fables we meet, like Mr. Toad, the Woodsman, or even Tiny Tim, are genuinely desperate for help. They'd never refuse steady work, housing, or protection from the government. Greenleaf, on the other hand, hides behind the image of the downtrodden, exploiting their struggles to keep her own operations unnoticed. Greenleaf isn't just aware of what she's doing it willingly. And what makes it worse? She creates glamours of other fables, directly enabling the very objectification Snow White fights against in the story. Much of the suffering endured by the poor and the women of Fabletown is in part aided and abetted by her. But there's strong evidence that Greenleaf knew far more about the Crooked Man, Georgie, and the darker undercurrents of Fabletown than she ever admitted. Her glamours weren't just sold through the Crooked Man, they ended up in Georgie's hands. And that connection is the truly unsettling part that deserves closer attention. By the game's end, we learn that Nerissa is actually Faith in glamour, meaning the severed head we find at the start belonged to the real Nerissa. And how did Faith get that glamour? Naturally, through Greenleaf. She didn't just make the illegal glamour, she knowingly handed it to Faith, which means Greenleaf knew the plot twist long before Bigby, or anyone else, ever did. Let's be clear, Greenleaf had to personally craft the glamour of Nerissa, fully aware of who she was and what kind of work she did. That glamour didn't appear out of nowhere. She supplied it directly to the Crooked Man or his associates, using ingredients produced through the forced labor at Johann's butcher shop. These are crucial details she could have revealed to Bigby, yet she stayed silent. Instead, she plays ignorant and simply points him toward Ichabod Crane. Now that we've built a clear timeline of events and uncovered strong evidence against Greenleaf, it's time to look closer at her character, because the deeper you dig, the worse it gets. According to the Book of Fables, Greenleaf struggles deeply with paranoia and depression, likely stemming from the loss of her daughter in the homelands. We know this because she literally glamours herself as her deceased daughter in an attempt to fool Bigby. This raises some disturbing questions. Why does she have a glamour of her centuries-old dead child? Why does she use it anytime someone knocks on her door? And given her connection to traffickers, possessing glamours of little girls is far more suspicious than most players seem to realise. One popular theory is that Greenleaf glamours herself as Rachel to hide from dangerous people, but that doesn't hold up. She's working for those very people. How could she possibly fool her own employers? It doesn't add up. The far more likely explanation is that this glamour exists either to deceive Fabletown officials like Bigby, or more disturbingly, to be sold to others with far darker intentions. It should be noted that her official in-game response to why she has these glamours is simply,
"I don't think that's any of your business, Wolf." "Why?" "How about because it works? That's why."
It's a non-answer to a serious question, one she quickly brushes aside before steering the conversation elsewhere. Now, this part ventures into theory, but the facts remain. It's undeniably strange to impersonate your own dead daughter. Stranger still is having those glamours ready at a moment's notice whenever someone visits. The Wolf Among Us is no stranger to dark themes, but would it really go this dark? There's no hard evidence she sells such glamours, yet the implications add another unsettling layer to the Greenleaf mystery. By the game's end, Greenleaf urges Bigby not to kill the Crooked Man, even offering to transform him into a crow and imprison him. But here's the problem. If you burned her tree earlier, how is she still making glamours? It's a confirmed fact that Greenleaf owns far more magical items than she admits, even selling the Ring of Dispel to Ichabod. This could be a simple continuity oversight, or maybe she tapped into the 13th floor's magic. But whatever the case, she's only seen alone after the incident, and it's entirely possible she had more than just her tree to work with all along. That would mean her devastated reaction was exaggerated, especially since if you do burn the tree, she's merely irritated by the game's end, not living in the crushing poverty she claimed. In the comics, we learn that Auntie Greenleaf appears in the Silvering, a mirror realm where the reflections of people go once their real-world counterparts die. This means the Greenleaf we see there isn't her living self, but her untethered reflection, implying that the real Greenleaf died sometime after the Crooked Man's trial. To make this clear, she could still be alive and the Silvering may function a little differently. The nature of this realm is left vague, and because it's only explored in the Wolf Among Us tie-in comics and not the main Fables series, the information remains pretty minor and ambiguous. The comics never explain how or why she ended up there, leaving it open to interpretation. But if her death is taken at face value, it adds weight to the idea that she may have known far more than she ever admitted. Perhaps enough to make her a target. To me, this interpretation of Greenleaf makes the most sense. The Wolf Among Us is ultimately a story of oppressors and the oppressed. When the ship starts sinking, figures like Georgie, or even the Crooked Man himself, either deny their guilt, shift the blame, or go down fighting. But doesn't it make sense that at least one of them would try something different? That one villain would choose to lie, to survive, to quietly slip onto the next ship. I believe Auntie Greenleaf is that villain. Ultimately, Auntie Greenleaf is one of the most overlooked, yet potentially sinister figures in The Wolf Among Us. Her role may appear minor, but the evidence suggests she consistently knew more than she revealed, and in the end, may have been one step ahead of everyone else. Shout out to my members for making these videos possible. Gog, Wizard Elf, Eternal Canadian, Fresh Pokemon Hunter, Rossmo, Beatbox Blade, Donny, Poop and Sock, Bear, Jojo My Dojo, Alexander Brantley, DNH_MR. You guys are awesome, and I'm gonna have to get quicker at saying these names. Shout out to everybody who watched, it truly means a lot to me. I hope you enjoyed, and I'd love to know what you think about my theory. Thank you for watching.